All right. Hello, welcome everyone to Live at Epiphan. Hey, George, how's it going?
Hey, good George. We haven't seen
This
you in a while.
feels, yeah, this feels like forever
I,
that
I
you and I have
know.
been on the show and me on a show at all, which is
George
which
and
is
I, you
fun.
and I used to host this show together all the time, and then something happened and we both got busy and we stopped hosting the show together. So anyway, I've missed you. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great to be back into the mix of things. I was away for a little while and kind of coming back into things now, which is great. And so many exciting things happened, especially in the past couple of weeks. And we're going to talk about some of those things today because NAB happened, and that's always been a huge show. Of course, it hasn't really been a thing for 2 years, and now NAB finally happened again in a pretty big way. And there was a lot of interesting and exciting things that were announced, and we want to touch on some of those and share with people some of the exciting things that those who were lucky enough to attend kind of saw around the show.
Yeah, we picked a perfect time to cherry pick and come back into the live show here because there is a lot of exciting news right now. We as a company, as Epiphan, have been consumed with developing our own cloud production tools like Unify and Connect, and talking to people who are also trying to do this. They're trying to move production up into the cloud. And at NAB 2 weeks ago, it was definitely the story of the show. It was all these
Yeah.
traditional hardware companies and everybody else is trying to figure out how can we move production up into the cloud. So
Not all of them won awards like we did, though. So just going to throw that out there.
boom, there we go.
But but we do have to kind of give
Hey,
ourselves some credit that we were at the top of a lot of people's lists on some of the new and exciting stuff about cloud technology that people saw at NAB. And of course, if you're a subscriber follower of us, you're going to learn a lot more about that stuff in the coming weeks as we really roll a lot of those things out and talk about them more and show them off to people. So we'll, stay tuned for all of that. But we wanted to talk about some of the other things that were around to that trend you just
yeah.
mentioned.
Well, let's kick it off with a company who we've known for
Sure.
years to develop great hardware for mostly in the filmmaking cinema industry, and that's Atomos.
Yeah.
In fact, we can talk
Yes.
about these two together. That Atomos and Frame.io are two companies here where we've got some content to talk about from them because Atomos, George, how would you describe Atomos in one line? What do they do? Up until a year ago, what would you say they do?
Well, exactly what you said. They're very popular with sort of that filmmaker community where they have recorders and monitors and these sorts of pieces to make it very easy and in many cases very portable to do color grading and monitoring and all these things in small displays, camera mounted pieces, lots and lots of cool kit. Honestly, they make some pretty great products, but they haven't really done a lot of stuff in terms of live production or live streaming.
You could say
That
they haven't
hasn't
even done very much with live software or cloud.
right.
All three of those things.
Exactly. Yes. And so one of the things they announced, one of many companies announced during NAB, is that they're rolling or will be rolling out. It's not available yet. This Atomos Cloud Studio, and the general idea there is a cloud-based platform, like many of the others, that's going to interconnect various different pieces, including some of their gadgets. Right, they announced a couple new ones that are kind of really geared towards this. The ability to stream from their cloud production sort of environment, whatever it's going to end up looking, and you know, into social media streaming or people viewing it directly on the platform, or as you just mentioned, maybe one of the biggest ones is as a pathway to enhance camera to cloud for Frame.io, which is something that Frame.io has had around for a little while, and this is another path. So it's interesting. I think it's really exciting. And again, in the filmmaker space, this isn't really a live production thing so much, but it allows that more traditional filmmaking space to be done more remotely. And maybe that word remote that's really the big highlight, I guess.
I think so because in the world of filmmaking, normally if you want things fast, it means you have to have people on set to do it locally
Yeah.
because the files are so big to be moving them around
drives
in the cloud.
physically around. Yeah, it's crazy.
So the idea of being able to do it remotely is going to save you so much time, because you can have an editor in one city and then the production's happening who knows where, in a desert.
Yeah.
Not a desert. There's probably a very poor network connectivity in a desert. I picked maybe the worst example. Anywhere but a desert, you probably have you can be sending that footage directly up into the cloud and having people work on it immediately and get those dailies back into for the show.
Right.
So,
and this isn't a new idea. This is something. So
why is it here now? Like, what's? Because I thought that too. Like, the concept is very basic. Just send the footage up to the cloud and do stuff with it there. But why have we not had this until, the last couple of years? Let's say.
I guess the best way I could put it is that it was kind of technology, mostly due to cost and complexity, that was really only there for the big boys, right? So, we know, because to some degree we were exposed to it, the companies like Disney have been doing this for a long, long time.
Well, they're using broadcast trucks, and they're using
it's super expensive
technology.
But they wanted remote color graders, right, in different places. Yeah. And doing it through companies like Atomos, not that it's necessarily cheap. It's still not for, the home streamer, but it is going to be more accessible and more practical and more feasible for the smaller independent filmmaker to do this.
So, but what's gotten cheaper? Like, obviously, they're not using satellite. Networking hasn't gotten cheaper. Network storage, is it that much cheaper today than it was 5 years ago?
I would say cloud, which is obviously a big umbrella term, but cloud is cheaper. And Atomos building some of these products, and those of us in the hardware space building the products that can assist with this, are also getting cheaper. Because, again, you can use your regular internet connection to do it. And of course, the internet is not necessarily getting cheaper in most countries, but it is getting faster, which is making it more practical. Yeah. So it's interesting. Frame.io is a great example of a platform that's been around forever and is super popular. They were not that long ago acquired by another little company people might have heard of called Adobe.
$5 billion for the record.
Yes. And now, with the power of a company like Adobe behind them, what they were really announcing, including this Atomos stuff, was an incredible range of integrations with different companies to just funnel all this data into what was already an amazing tool like Frame.io, which we use as well when we're doing our content creation of recorded stuff, right? Because we have people all over the place, and you just, hey, check this out, give me the feedback. We're not all in the same office, in the same room. So in, the idea of this camera to cloud path, which Frame.io has their own ability to, and now these other integrations, makes that path faster. Mm-hmm. Time is money, as the old adage says, right?
Yeah, the post-production workflow, they seem to be all about post-production here. So we're often in here talking about live solutions. When we talk about Frame.io, we're not talking about live. Who knows? Maybe they'll get there, because they're they have been very ambitious as a company. But for people who, like our producers behind the scene, Jeremy and Adam, who are doing a lot more work in post and having to make sense of a bunch of footage, a tool like Frame.io is pretty badass. So interesting to see all this stuff moving into cloud. Let's jump ahead into not cloud. Let's go to the land of not cloud. Cloud land. Let's do land stuff.
Right, tangible, physical things.
Oh,
sure.
yeah. And we're going to nerd out here on a camera that is not the kind of camera that I normally get excited about. Cinema cameras and bokeh that is just creamy and rich and all those really nice images and stuff like that. This is a super nerdy scientific camera from a company called Emergent. Have you ever heard of these guys, George?
I hadn't, no, but I was looking at this and I was like, this is really interesting. What the heck are they doing with this?
Look at the name. For starters, you can tell they're not trying to appeal to like a broad segment, because they call it the
no sexy names.
10,000. They could have gone with 1,000 and like, not enough.
Or 10 or whatever.
G, 100 gig E with G Sprint 45. This is an engineering company. I'm gonna suggest it might be an engineering company.
Yeah, they just keep tagging pieces onto the end of their model names on whether or not you need it in monochrome or color. There's just a slate.
But tell me, what does this mean? Why is this camera cool? 100 the speed of Gigi.
Well, I think, well, first of all, the first layer, of course, is that this is a super high-speed camera, right? That's one of the things they're trying to achieve is they want these incredible frame rates.
Yeah, they say 1,000 frames per second here.
Right, at 10 megapixel, which is in the video camera space, right? That's basically we're talking about 4K at incredible frame rates.
That doesn't seem to add up, actually. That's actually odd that it's only 10 megapixels at 1,000.
Yeah, but it's 8-bit.
Okay,
it's 8-bit, so they're messing with some color there.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is that when we're talking about high-speed cameras traditionally, right, they're typically not network cameras because there just isn't the bandwidth to move this kind of data, right? Because we can't necessarily, compression at these sorts of speeds doesn't work very well on the fly.
1,000 pictures a second.
Right.
That you have to move through a pipe up to the internet is a lot.
Exactly. So that's a challenge to encode on the fly at any serious compression level in order to move it across our more traditional network stuff. So what these guys are trying to do is combine this incredible high-speed camera, but they need it on the network, and they've sort of come up with this 100 gig method of moving that data, which is fascinating. But like you said, this is really geared to be an industrial camera. This isn't, we're not going to see the next Michael Bay.
are kind of no. Well, actually, Michael Bay might get into this.
Maybe
super slow motion, but finish line vision. So I'm like sports, trying to capture the who's going across the tape first, where you need to see things in incredibly slow motion.
Exactly.
Referee assist. Yeah.
Yeah, machine vision, the wind tunnels, medical.
Yeah, but it would be fun to play around with it and do the old, pop in a balloon and
totally.
Like that.
But it is interesting because again, we haven't typically seen this type of industrial camera necessarily as a network based.
Well, when you and I were trying to make network studios about 3 years ago, I was looking for cameras that I could plug an Ethernet cable into and control remotely from far away.
Yeah.
At the time, there existed about 2, and we bought them. Now it's quite common to see a network connectivity with cameras. It's still not in most cameras, but it's starting to be in more cameras.
But it is getting there, and we're starting to see more and more technology part of that, which is a great segue into the next camera, which is our friends over at PTZOptics. We've worked with these guys. Our team got to hang out with them at NAB quite a bit, and they have a new variation of their SimplTrack, which is their auto tracking PTZ camera, and they won some awards for this as well. This is a great highlight of, again, this can support NDI, which means it's obviously a network-based camera, or optionally a network-based camera, and it has that auto tracking built in. So this is kind of an emerging of all these different technologies, right? We're starting to see auto track become more common and become less expensive in the PTZ world, which is awesome because more people will then use it. But then combining that with network stuff, with NDI especially, and then hopefully bringing that cost down is going to make it so easy. And I've played with some of the PTZOptics older SimplTrack stuff. It works great. Like, this looks like it's a slightly different method of how they're tracking the movement. But
how much is this? Any idea, George?
I don't know. I don't think they have it out yet. But
it's interesting. It's kind of like PTZ cameras, which have always been in the domain of, like, you buy it for a facility, not an individual. This is like a PTZ camera for an individual. You put this in your office. You put this in your home, your small space. And, you and I could be using it for a show like this, right? It's that kind of camera. So they're kind of filling a gap in the industry, which I think is pretty interesting.
Well, exactly. And again, are they doing anything dramatic like that other camera in terms of 1,000 frames per second? No, it's 1080-60. That's fine.
This is convenience, though.
99% of users.
Yeah, this would be super convenient and helpful. You could use
exactly.
this. I would have no use for that other camera. I think it's really cool, but it would sit in a box under my desk.
Right, exactly.
Don't
but
shoot
if you
a lot
were
of 1,000 FPS stuff.
Right, but in a small meeting room where you might need to move around as part of your presentation, a single camera like this could make a world of difference for that. As more people have small studios or small meeting rooms in this hybrid world we find ourselves in.
Yeah. Okay, we have a couple of more things that were talked about at NAB. Here's one. I think this one's for me, not you. We're gonna find out in a second. Do you know?
Yeah,
anything
you
about
put this on the list. I don't, because you put this on the list, and I started looking through it, and I'm like, I don't get it. What is the point? Why would I need to use my phone as a webcam when I have a webcam? Like,
Okay, I'm gonna tell you why.
I don't get it.
How many words is it? Oh yeah, it's just 3 words. Your webcam stinks. All webcams stink. I am sorry. Like, I have not met a webcam that I like. I've used the 1-inch CMOS Hudleys, and it's better, but none of them are as good as the camera in my phone. My relatively cheap phone.
It means I use a real camera.
Real camera's great, but a lot of people have this sitting around. So to be able to leverage this camera, but not just this camera, the tech inside here that can manipulate that image and do like my iPhone has this portrait mode thing where it makes my background blurry. And as I said earlier, I'm a sucker for that. So being able to tap into the AI around what a camera can do in here is powerful, because I can't do that with a webcam. Like, so that's, but like, George, we could have you looking just like this for the live show.
See, and this is where you lose me, because the number one thing that I see people use the tech, as you said, within their phone cameras is for all these stupid useless filters.
Let me lose you a little bit more then. Because of course you can do like nice lighting and actually just manipulate your image in a more traditional way. You want to up that contrast and stuff. The controls are really good in this kind of application. And it works like you install an app on your computer, you install the app on the phone, and then through the magic of the Bluetooth or something like that, it all comes together. I won't even get into it. I haven't even tried, to be honest with you. But I did look at the reviews, and people seem to be quite happy with it. So you can do a lot of stuff with it. And then, George, we can do the ridiculous.
I hate it. I hate it already. Yeah. I hate it.
So this, I love how much you hate this. We need to do a whole show on this and have you as like the main host, where you're shilling for this product. Okay. So you can do goofy stuff like this, but in all reality, you can just make like nice quality images and leverage the great tech that's in your phone for cheap. So it's convenient.
I mean, I'm all for improving image, right? Because even at this point, however many years we've been,
you need to improve your image a lot, my friend.
With this, that's true. Pandemic related things and coming out of that and hybrid workflows and all these things, people still haven't gotten good cameras. And I agree with you, webcams do stink. And people still haven't figured that out. They still haven't figured out their audio, on and on and on and on and on. So anything to help improve visuals is great. I'm all for that. But just like any longtime viewers, going back, I don't even know how long, where we did shows talking about new features that like Zoom rolled out and stuff like that. And while Microsoft was rolling out NDI for Teams, Zoom was rolling out stupid filters, right? Like, this is,
I remember how grumpy you were about this.
I hate it.
Biggest buzzkill. Like, I just want to have a little French mustache just for like an hour during a Zoom call. Is that so wrong?
Yes. Yes, it is. You want a mustache? Grow a mustache.
There's a nice t-shirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I don't think we're going to win you over on woven lens or cat on head. But
no, you want a cat on your head? Get a cat and put it on your head. I mean, come on.
Let's go. Maybe this is more your wheelhouse. Timecode.
Yeah.
Huh? Does that get you excited? You want to talk timecode? Okay.
Timecode is one of those weird nerdy things as well that most people, unless it's critical to their existence, kind of just gloss over. And in the world of live streaming, it's not that critical, but it definitely is, again, in that filmmaker space. It's
totally
multicam shooting is critical.
So Deity, is it Deity? Mm-hmm. Like, Deity, that's a good name. They think very highly of themselves. I like that. It's confident.
They make some cool stuff.
I hope so, with a name like that. But this timecode box that they released, look at the size of it. I mean, it's barely bigger than a thumb. But what it allows you to do is inject timecode into a video, and injecting timecode, over Bluetooth and all this stuff into one camera is meaningless. Mm-hmm. But if you can inject the same timecode into multiple cameras, when you go to edit them, you know that they'll all be lined up exactly the same thing. I'm just sort of explaining the principle of timecode and why it's valuable. If you don't have your timecode aligned and you're shooting a multi-camera setup, it's a nightmare. So it's more just make sure your life is not hell in an editing room. So again, we're talking about more post-production stuff here, but I just love the size of this thing.
It's fantastic. And it's funny because this is what Deity as a company has always been about, is making these great little tools, but kind of shrinking them down. Like, years ago at a show, we were next door neighbors with them, and they were launching these new wireless lavs and stuff like that. And what they had was just the size and the battery and USB-C charging. It was way ahead of what anyone else was doing. And, everyone still had these giant bricks and all these crazy things and AA batteries. And these guys were just way out there. So they've always continued to do that. They make great little lav mics that you can plug directly into your phone if you have to use your phone for audio. Like they're doing great stuff. And it's interesting to see them now add on Timecode as part of that, because it brings what they do so well in terms of making it small, making it easy, making it a little more sexy, to be honest, and in something like Timecode that most people don't really think about.
So we covered, that's the range of NAB, like the little nerdy details like Timecode. Dan Wallace taught me this trick, one of our colleagues. Like the interesting stuff at those big shows is around the edges, and it's the smaller companies who are doing weird stuff and stuff that you haven't heard of yet. And maybe they're just a technology company and they're not really a product company. That's certainly a product company, but nonetheless, there's so much stuff to find out at a show like NAB.
Yeah, it's not the Teslas moving people from hall to hall. It's all the weird little booths around the outside that have, something innovative happening.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what's going on in the kitchen, which hopefully in a week or two, George, we can actually be in that same kitchen together. So I think we're there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah,
we have some cool stuff happening though. I'm really excited.
We are. Do you want me to cue it up, or would you say that with a
Sure, why not?
Okay, let me do that. All right. So we do have a new blog up called Live Streaming Statistics You Should Know in 2022. This is interesting if you're in the business of live streaming, if you're trying to make a case for it, maybe you have customers who are asking you about they want to get live streaming. This might help your case. So check that out. George, you have a webinar coming up on H.265 or HEVC in support of our Pearl Nano, which just got H.265 added to it. Give me the 2 sentences. Why should people care about H.265?
Well, funny enough, it kind of is a great carry-on from our NAB subject, because we launched this upgrade for the Pearl Nano to support H.265 HEVC on Nano at NAB. We used it at NAB for all of the live streams we were doing. And what made it so important was that we were running 3 full HD streams off of 3 nanos from 3 different cameras over what is arguably completely garbage internet, right? And the only way that was possible was because with HEVC, we can achieve similar quality at about half the bandwidth of H.264. So, if we say, we often talk on this show about like what sort of bit rate do you need to encode full HD, right? YouTube likes 5 megabits, so it's a good number. But 5 megabit means we might need 8 to 10 megabit of upload speed to support it. I just had this conversation with a church the other day, and they're struggling because they don't have the bandwidth. But HEVC means we could take that 5 number and cut it in half and have the same quality. So whether that means more streams on the same connection or just better quality streams on poor connections, it can really be a big game changer. And the efficiency of it will help. There's more and more platforms using HEVC now, which means less transcoding and all those other things to ultimately make it faster and efficient to get those streams out there. And people were so excited, so excited about this coming to Pearl Nano. And especially for those people who want 4K, which Nano also has an option for now. 4K, the barrier was always bandwidth, right? So again, if we can cut that in half, that's a huge win.
Totally. So in other news, aside from that webinar, which is next week, you can go to our website. You can sign up for that webinar. You can also see the latest version of our magazine, Evolution Magazine.
I don't even have a copy of this yet.
Well, you're not in the cool club, I guess, then, George.
I guess not.
But maybe when I see you in the kitchen, we can look at a copy
I can get a copy.
Yeah.
Great.
A lot of this is really about cloud production. Kind of the theme of our show today is about cloud production. We talk about Unify, and we talk about all the things that we're doing as a company around how to move your production into the cloud. So,
yeah,
I think that's about it. We're done, George.
Yeah, if you do want to learn more about some of those words we just used, like unify and connect, definitely check out the website. We have a bunch of stuff up there, and if that's something that piques your interest, there's some signups and things like that to chat with some of our experts about how that might be able to help you, and we'd love to chat with you. But otherwise, yeah, thank you for joining us. That was a quick summary of some of the things that got us excited at NAB, and really interested to see how things develop over the next few months as these things launch and get into hands of users. And our next episode will be May 19th, I guess, in 2 weeks. And yeah, it's May already, and it's going to be over before we know it. And it's going to be summer, and then that's going to be wonderful. And we'll have to figure out how to do something outside, George, pretty soon.
On a motorcycle. All right.
Ideally.
Thanks for watching,
everyone.
everybody. See you in a bit.
All right. Bye-bye.